Okay, so I had a job interview today, and I want to reflect on how it went. It was the weirdest thing, y'all. I could tell that the people liked me. They were put on light so you can see. The people liked me. They were impressed with my background, but they could not figure out how to place me. And that is something that I've dealt with my entire professional career, where people will meet me and they'll be like, I don't know what it is. I know that I like you. And actually, to be transparent, that's how it works in my dating relationships too. I know I like you, like you're on paper, like at face value, you're impressive, you're great. I'm trying to figure out what my relationship should be with you. Is it that I'm just glad that I met you? Is it that we should have a future together? Like, this is the same process that boyfriends and employers go through with me, and people are not really sure how to place me. This is the healing that God has done inside of me that really could not have been done in any other way other than through God. God has been showing me that there's so much favor on my life. I am so favored by the Most High, by my Father, that if someone is saying no to me, it's the Holy Spirit saying no. It's the Holy Spirit closing that door. And it's so weird because sometimes it will be like a person's opening their mouth and they're saying, I like you. You are amazing. Why can't I work with you? Why can't I date you? Why can't I marry you or whatever? Like, they're baffled in themselves. And it makes me think about how in the Bible, the Bible was talking about how Pharaoh's heart was hardened. And imagine, like, the children of Israel are so favored that God has to harden someone's heart in order for a door to be closed. Otherwise, without God doing that, they would have been having all these things coming free flowing. So it's a weird thing to wrap your mind around, but imagine that the thing God has for you is so big that he needs to appropriately shut certain doors and close off certain opportunities so that you don't walk into them, you know? So once I understood that, I stopped taking rejection so personally. It's not even like, oh, they don't like me. It's like, I'm so favored that if this no is coming, it's coming from on high. I don't know if any of you have ever been blocked by the Holy Spirit, but the Holy Spirit has blocked me getting some jobs, moving to some places, staying in certain relationships. I have been blocked by the Holy Spirit before, and at the time it was painful. It felt like rejection. But like so many people have been saying recently, rejection many times is God's protection. And it's like the most cheesy thing to hear. And at times it's like, I'm not trying to listen to that. I'm rejected and it hurts. And I want to be angry at someone. Well, it's okay to acknowledge it's painful, but you have to be hopeful, trusting that God is doing something in the grand scheme of things. So I'm really looking at rejection very differently now. I'm like, okay, God is doing something in my life for certain doors. I'm telling you, like, I moved here in August. Let's say August, because it was pretty much the end of July. Moved here in August, have not had a single job interview until today. And that interview was like kind of laughable. Because the precursor to it is like someone had told this woman about me and she loved my background, but was still at the interview like, I don't know where to put you. I think you're phenomenal. I don't know where to put you, which is such an interesting place. Now that I'm on the other side of healing, I can now be like, oh, okay, God is doing something with that seeming rejection or the way people are constantly like baffled about where I fit. I don't really fit into boxes very neatly, which is such a refreshing and beautiful thing. Now that I'm in a mature, like I said, healed place, I can appreciate that. But before, I wanted to just fit neatly into a role and for people to be like, yeah, that makes sense, she's qualified. I've been untraditionally qualified for almost every role that I've taken on. God has found different ways to give me the training that I needed, and sometimes people had to take a risk, take a leap of faith in bringing me into the role, and God has given me the grace to knock it out of the park every time. And I'm confident that he who began a good work in me will see it all the way to completion. So I can walk into these interviews and not feel nervous, because God called me there to be myself and to bring light. Sometimes, this is the weird thing about the Holy Spirit, sometimes the Holy Spirit will be like, hey, go to that place, go to that interview, because I want you to meet this person and like deliver a word of encouragement to them. It'll be my own interview, like, Lord, I need the word, I need a job. And God is like, no, you have a different assignment, don't worry about your stuff, focus on delivering the message that I gave you. And so that's sometimes one of the most baffling things. I wouldn't even say it's hard per se, it's baffling, because God's been showing me that when I take care of his business, he takes care of mine. So it seems really counterintuitive. Like, why aren't you networking? Why are you meeting someone and instead of like telling them you need a job, you're like praying for them? That's not what you were there to do. But maybe it is. Maybe God sent me to a place to minister to a person. I see every interaction now as a ministry opportunity, which is kind of new for me. And it's a really cool, I just ran this red light. A really cool, interesting place to be. And I'm grateful. So I just want to capture this. I keep saying capture all of this because I think sometimes when you're on the other side of it, you forget that this was your thought pattern. You forget that these are things that you had to work through. But yeah, job search, very interesting. I'm month 6, month 7 into my sabbatical, and I'm just now starting to like interview for jobs. Whereas I've been applying, but I just haven't had any interviews yet. It's the most wild thing. I know God will do it. At this point, it's just a matter of how. So